The Dan Andrews government passed some contentious new laws in December last year concerning public drunkenness. The decision to decriminalise public drunkenness was triggered by the death of an Indigenous woman in 2017. Under the legislation, being drunk in public will be treated as a medical issue. Understandably, police have reservations about how this will impact their ability to do their job. Joining us now is Secretary of the Police Association of Victoria, Wayne Gatt. Thank you for joining us, Wayne. Will these changes to the legislation leave police without powers to manage drunk people?
Well, we hope not. And look, for the record, the debate about whether it should be a crime or shouldn't be is not one that we care to enter too much. What we care more for is what will be left for police, and what will the expectations be of police in a new world going forward, where this is decriminalised and police don't have adequate powers to keep the community and indeed the people that they find at times intoxicated for one reason or another in public places safe.
Now, is being drunk, though, really a medical issue? Maybe that's not a debate you want to get into, but what will police do if they see someone drunk in public who may be a danger to others? Do they have to wait for that person to commit an offence before they can get involved?
Well, sadly, we think that's what's exactly going to happen. And what's really concerning our members at this point in time is that they're none the wiser. We're now many months past the passage of this legislation in Victoria, yet we're no closer to understanding the impacts on not only police workers, but other emergency service workers, our hospitals, paramedics, all of those that are going to some extent or anticipate some of the flow and effect of this legislative reform. We simply don't know the answer to that question. We don't think that's a good place to be. It's one of the reasons at the time, Arita, we did say we think they've put the cart before the horse. You don't pass legislation until you have a plan. You don't create the plan after you make the announcement. You've got it backwards. That's been done now, and there's little point in us looking backwards in the rearview mirror. We're looking forward now and saying, look, we know instinctively that police will continue to be called by the public. 000 calls will continue, and our members will never, ever abandon the community. So you need to give us the powers and you need to give us the capacity to help them and to help those people who, for whatever reason, find themselves intoxicated and have no one else there and then to support them.
Well, I think you've raised some really, really important points, Wayne, around this debate. I mean, to the average person in the street, not one of your members has actually got to do the job. If someone's lying there unconscious, passed out from, being drunk, you could probably say there's a reasonable case they shouldn't be dragged off to the prisons. But if they're violent, they're offensive, they're causing a threat to the public, then your members need to know that they can act. And in those two extreme examples, at both ends of it, you can say that's fine. But your point is this grey area. You want your members protected rightfully, so they can do their job to protect our society. And I think it's really important, and the government should be sitting down with yourself and the legal fraternity and establishing a clear framework of action. In much the same way, there's been ongoing arguments around, say, whether to chase a car or not. That's a difficult circumstance for your members as well. And you've needed to have that thrashed out so that your members have confidence to act. And that's where we are today. Your members need confidence to act.
And the clock's ticking, and that's of concern to us. This legislation will come into place in the near future. As I said, it's now many months since the passage of that legislation. We are no clearer in our understanding in terms of how police will fit into that picture or anyone else in the system. And that should be of concern to Victorians, because we all rely on police intervention, whether we like it or not, to keep our community, our streets safe. Traders in the CBD, for example, they rely on us to create and maintain an environment that is welcoming and that people can feel comfortable to come and use in the CBDs and in the communities. And we really do need to make sure that we have the capacity to protect people, sometimes when they're at their most vulnerable. Look, every day of the week, Every day of the week, police are dealing with people that are intoxicated, and in 99 times out of 100, those people, once that interaction with the police occurs, go home of their own volition. They're taken into care or custody of a friend. They find a taxi. They move on willingly. What we are talking about is the absolute minority of cases where people are, as you quite rightly say, violent, aggressive. They may be committing other criminal offences, or they may be simply on their own and without any capacity of their own to get home. In those cases, we all know someone's going to have to act. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's almost certainly going to be left at the feet of the police. Our members just want to know, how are they going to do that?
And just lastly, what is the situation with the injecting room debate? That Flinders Street story, that thankfully seems to have been spiked, but what are your feelings about having a second drug injecting facility somewhere close to the city or in the city?
Rita, look, we've said it before and I'll say it again today. Look, we stand with the community on this, and when the government finds a community that's willing to accept this, under the understanding that it will have an impact on amenity, then we will support a second site. But we cannot support a site that, when we clearly have a trial operating in Richmond that is going from bad to worse each and every day. It's only recently we saw footage on our TV screens of ice-impacted people trying to bash their way into cars right out the front doors of the centre. Yesterday, our members were dealing in the vicinity of the drug injection room with a male carrying a machete in a public place. We've got images on the front pages of our paper of tents being erected in the vicinity with needle boxes strung from them. I mean, anybody that says this is not having an impact on those residents in that area, on those traders, on that community, has simply has their head in the sand. And we say responsible governance is about understanding, giving stuff a go by all means, giving things an opportunity and trying to be progressive by all means. We advocate for that. But responsible government and governance is about also understanding when you have to act because it's not going right, or it's not going as you planned, or it's having adverse impacts. Richmond is having those impacts each and every day, and it's being evidenced each and every day in our newspapers, on our TV screens and in our streets. We could never support another centre in the CBD whilst this continues to occur some 5 kilometres down the road.